Here's a great one. It's $3. How much can I lose? This is a great one. Because get out. This is, I don't have a computer and I can't do high-level math, but just do this one. So let's say your neighbor buys $10,000 of a stock at 50, and the stock's now 3, and you put $25,000 in at 3. If it goes to 0, who loses the most? A lot of people cannot answer this question. You know, I mean, if you put $1 billion in at 3, you can lose $1 billion. You know, I mean, they blow taps in lots of companies every year. You know, you just have, they can go to 0. Here's a good one that helped me a lot. It's always darkest before the dawn. This business is terrible. It's awful. You ought to buy the group. This is not a good way of making money. Here's one you're probably talking about before lunch, freight car deliveries. In 1979, there was 96,000 freight cars delivered in the United States. 2 years later, it fell to 45,000, the lowest in 23 years. So it goes from 96,000 to 45,000. People say business is awful, it's horrible, pathetic. Then it falls to 25,000. They say, just load up. There's about 15 opportunities to lose money here. There's about 15 suppliers of freight cars, 15 manufacturers. Business was awful. Well, last year we shipped 7,000 freight cars in the United States. The business just continued to be miserable. And I'll give you one there's even greater opportunity to lose money on. Energy services industry. This, we all had a great opportunity to get our heads handed to us. In 1982, there was 11,000 of those oil rigs drilling those holes all over Oklahoma and Texas and Colorado. We used to have the rig count every week. And the rig count fell from 11,000 in 82 to 6,000 in 83. Then it fell a little bit lower in 84. And there's hundreds and hundreds of companies here. Companies that made the muds and did the downhole stuff, the fracturing companies, the well companies, all the measurement companies, the Schlumbergers, the bid companies. Lots of opportunities to lose money here. There's an equal opportunity here for serious losses. And the people said, listen, the business is terrible, let's buy these groups. Well, the rig count was only 1,000 3 years ago. So it went from 11,000 to 6,000 to 5,000, then 8 years later it was under 1,000. The industry really started to turn about 2 years ago. So just saying the business can't get worse. I was lucky enough, in addition to having the metals industry when we started Fidelity, I had the textile industry, which is a great group to follow. Because you follow companies like J.P. Stevens, was founded in the 18th century, and West Point Pepperell was founded in the 18th century. Burlington Industries was one of the new companies that was founded in 1904. These people have been through recessions, depressions, world wars. They've seen it all. There's a great expression in the textile industry. It's always darkest before pitch black. Now that's a good one to remember, because when business is terrible, it can get considerably terrible. It can get terrible to the power of 6. And I love those numbers on freight car deliveries. You ever watch, I love the show Jeopardy. You ever watch Jeopardy and people come out, they will know those numbers. Remember, they'll know the numbers. And they'll know, you know, what country Box took his first vacation in, and they'll know Phil Rizzuto's batting average and what his wife's first name was, and they'll know the stock symbols of Xerox before it was Haloid, or, you know, they know everything. And you watch the show and you feel like an absolute idiot watching the show because they answer all these questions. But they're really smart. I've owned this stock before, King World. Right after it, they show Wheel of Fortune. And what happens is they'll have this word up there, and it'll be TH, and there's a T, and it says, I buy a vowel here, I buy a U, you know, buy an I, and you know, Vanna spins the wheel, and they buy the A, and, you know, you're redeemed by watching the Wheel of Fortune after feeling like an absolute jerk on the Jeopardy game, and it's really smart. When I rebound to 10, I'll sell. Here's a great rule. Somebody buys a stock at 10, and it falls to 6. They say, if it gets back to 10, I'll sell. Now, I think the math, 4 and 6, I can handle this level of math. I think that's about a 66% return. You ought to buy it. If you think it's going back to 10, you ought to buy the hell out of the damn thing. But they think if it gets back to 10, I'll sell. Now, what you ought to do is never put down a round number, because I think for the next 26 years, this stock will go between 5 and 9 1/4. It'll never get to 10. So maybe put 9 1/8 or 8 3/4. But just saying the stock, if it gets back what I paid for it, this is a very important rule. This is one of the key rules. The stock doesn't know you own it. Remember that. You could be a miserable person. You could have, you know, never helped anybody, never done anything right, had 67 spouses, never done anything right. If you own Coca-Cola the last 50 years, it's gone up 300-fold. You could be the greatest human in the world, help Special Olympics, help the mentally challenged, help poor people, help AIDS people. If you own Bethlehem Steel, it's lower than it was 30 years ago. It's not your fault. Don't take this personal, you know. But people treat stocks sometimes like their grandchildren or a puppy. I mean, they think the stock knows who you are. You know, it's, you know, it doesn't work that way. Let me worry, I own conservative stocks. I don't have to worry, I own conservative stocks. I remember when Con Ed fell 80%, then tripled. Public Service Indiana went down 90%, Gulf States Utilities, Long Island Lighting. This may be an oxymoron. We had Quality Texas Banks that went to zero. We had Quality New England Banks that went to zero. These were companies that have been around for 150 years, 120 years. Saying I own conservative stocks, I don't have to worry. And I've seen a lot of people, they'll inherit a stock from somebody. They'll say, you know, my mother said on her deathbed, don't sell the Long Island Lighting. You know, you always wondered, you know, she's going to heaven, or hopefully where she's going to heaven. You know, they talk about a Little League game or a vacation or a game of hearts they had, or imagine talking on your deathbed about Long Island Lighting. And you say, well, you know, but you get these stories all the time. And I think your mother would have noticed, she wouldn't have sold at 29, but she would have noticed that this little plant that was about $6 billion over budget, no one wanted it, and wasn't working, and Long Island stopped growing. So maybe she would have turfed it at 22 or got out at 18. She wouldn't have let it go to 4. You know, so just because you inherit some stock and it's so-called conservative, like Eastman Kodak fell 75%, IBM fell 75%, don't tell anybody you own a conservative stock. Companies are very dynamic. I don't buy that argument.